So we're here today to talk about skate parks, I guess more importantly, why, how, and who around putting them in place, strategies around how they roll out in the community, their purposes, and I guess what would be best practice in the future on how we can move with skate parks and make sure we're doing it right going forward. So skate parks have a number of reasons why they get built. One of the first ones is that the land, it's normally cheap. There's not a lot of other purpose for it, so it's a great way to put one in. They're semi-flood resilient, and once they're built, they're not as much maintenance as other things as well. So sometimes it's trying to find something to do with some land in a particular area. Then you've got other situations like training and competition. So this particular part of skateboarding is where doing a strategy for your city, or for the country, or for Australia, or the state, or wherever it may be, even your local council if you've only got 2 skate parks. It's in the Olympics now. There's competitions all over Australia. There's coaches all over Australia. There's more than 300 coaches in Australia right now. So when you're planning to do something for your entire city, it's something new that's got to be catered for in planning for an entire city. So if you've got 6 skate parks within your council LGA, you don't need every single park to be a competition or a training park, but maybe one of those would be ideal. That's where you can host competitions and events, and the coaches can train people, and the other 5 could be really fun, funky community parks that really invite different types of skating and BMX and scootering to get some really creative individual people coming through that place as well. I guess one of the other reasons is youth space. A lot of the skate parks in Australia were built early 2000s to 2005. They're all coming up to end of life now. That was probably the biggest building construction in Australia in the last 50 years. They were put everywhere. They were put in regional towns. Someone like Brisbane's got 38, I believe, or close to it now. Some of these very, very old, and a lot of you, if you're in a council watching this, you probably know that some of your skate parks are upwards of 25 to 30 years old. So they were originally put in, big push, youth crime, youth safety, trying to create youth spaces. And to be fair, they've been great at delivering that. Half courts and skate parks and playgrounds are quite effective tools in the community that are free and cheap and easy to use. So it's great that we had this big boom, 20, 25 years ago, and they're all kind of coming to end of life now. So these conversations with Olympics and the way parks are built and the way that everything's being structured, it's a really good time because a lot of people are going to be looking at replacing some of these old facilities in the not too distant future as well. The other reason is just community need. We see a lot of skate parks. There's a great one, if you get a chance to look at the Flagstone one, it's in Queensland. They've got a water park next door, a little cafe there. They've got a flying fox, and it's like a great holistic sort of centerpiece in the whole community, and it's right next to the other sports clubs, and there's a lot going on. It's not far from the shops. It's really quite well done as far as we've seen building it into the community as well. And I think one of the forgotten things is lights are a major part of skate parks now. Skateboarding's been around so long, same with scootering and BMX, that there's an older generation who are still currently active using these facilities. And they use them as much as council let them. And when I say council let them, if there's lights there, when they finish their 9 to 5, they're able to come out and skate, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. with the lights on, and that then brings in this adult presence of mentorship at the skate park and some active supervision there as well. So if you are worried about things like crime, lights don't bring the crime to the skate park, they actually deter it. You get an older presence there, families can go down. I see a lot of new parks, Sugar Bowl and Mackay. I think there's a lot of others as well. They've all got barbecues at them now. Fantastic initiative, and they do get used all the time. So there's a lot of great points there. So I think we look at the use of the land. That's great if you've got some cheap land and you want to use a skate park. That's often quite an effective tool there. Setting up for the future for training and competitions. We're a strong sporting nation. We need to cater for this. It's not every skate park It's just making sure that the people in your community and your state and your country have the tools to be able to train here and succeed, and we don't want people in regional areas or small areas to be disadvantaged. A youth space, you know, we see all things like a parkour course or the water park or lots of things I said. Building that into, I guess, a whole overall strategy for your city. And then your community need as well, which is catering for the older group. Thinking about all the little things you can add to it. I mean, the amount of times I've seen skate parks with no toilets, I think, and I look at the neighboring parks and they don't have toilets either, and the average users, they're up to 4 to 6 hours sometimes with skate parks. So I do wonder how it got to this point where we designed this facility that people use for a 4 to 6 hour window without toilet facilities. And I know it's a strange thing to bang on about, but these are people in your community. You're deterring them from using it, and it can be challenging. So I think, you know, going forward, what we'd like to see is a better strategy for councils and designers and everyone in Australia work towards, you know, better amenities for everybody, and it's going to be better for the community too. So getting these right, what we're seeing is there's been a traditional way of setting skate parks up in a community. So what I've got here is, let's say it's Council A and Council B, and Council B might have 4 skate parks across its region. And what we would see generally is this one in particular, they might be like, oh, okay, the community is lobbying really heavy that it needs to be upgraded. So what Council B does is the local politician gets angry emails, he goes back to the council, and then this one gets marked for an upgrade. Meanwhile, this one over here is the worst damaged, and nobody's lobbying for it because nobody goes to it. It's that far out of repair and damage that we've decimated that community. So what ends up happening is the council will then invest money into here, where rather than looking at what is this one and this one and this one, and what is our plan, which one's going to be our competition park, which one's going to have transitional elements, which one's going to have street elements, and taking a holistic approach, they'll pick one where the community is most vocal and then designate that as part of the plan. What also doesn't happen is if Council A has 4 facilities here, there's a border, and these guys here aren't looking at this. They're not looking at whether these people 2 minutes down the road have the exact same thing down the road too. So when we're looking at skate parks, we should be looking at either a state or national level, or even with councils across each other. We don't want 2 identical facilities 2 minutes down the road when they cost, you know, $800,000 plus to build. So generally they'll pick a random skate park. What happens from here is a designer is appointed, some designs are done, and then it goes out to a community consultation. So normally with a community consultation, we might have, let's say it's a $1.5 million skate park. What we do is we get random children to come and tell us what we need to do with that $1.5 million. And whoever is living closest to the skate park and can make the consultation. So the strategy around building it isn't based on training and competition grounds, what a youth space needs or any of this community need. It's generally based on whatever kids can make the consult day and live closest to the skate park. So this particular model, which to be fair is how it's currently done now, can be particularly problematic as we've got possibly half of the skate parks in Australia coming to end of life in the next 3 to 5 years, which means that if you've got these 8 facilities, that would be 2, 3, possibly 50% of those that are going to need to be replaced. Now, taking this approach of one random park co-designed by local children at $1.5 million a piece gets a bit expensive. It might not be replaced for another 20 years. So whoever lives in there, if they get it wrong, it's a pretty long, expensive mistake to make. So following these plans and doing things and putting good systems in place to look at how the city overall looks at its facilities is really important, and it needs to be done. So this is what happens here. We build this, and then we do some repairs here, pack some concrete here. Then this guy that's about to be end of life, finally someone figures it out. It's probably 8 years too late. You know, no one's been there in 8 years. And then they go, that's going to be our competition park. Meanwhile, somewhere along the lines here, they've built some competition elements, but they're not quite right. So this one's not a good community park. And then you've got this absolute mess with no strategy or structure around it that this whole community has to live with for 20 years. So that is surprisingly how most skate parks are done today. And it's problematic. You know, they need to have a strategy, all right, and factor in community need, nighttime, toilets, fencing, shade, lights, all those sorts of things, setting the city up for training and competitions, and that is a new thing, and the sport's evolving, and there's going to be a need for it. So if you got 6, we say 1 out of 6 skate parks is that, but if your region has a large amount, maybe you only need 1. And then you also got to look at future locations. There might be some places where there's possible upgrades in the future as well that you need to think about too. And then obviously just making it youth friendly. What other elements can we add into that too? I mean, we see a lot of landscaping in designs, and sometimes it's great for purpose, but it's often not always practical. But I do think, you know, trees and that provide a lot of vital shade there too, so they're not out of the question. But I think the facility itself has to be great, and if it's a $400 grand or a $3 million one, we want to make sure that we're planning accordingly and make sure that we're not doing it this current way and we're moving into the future. So I'm going to look at Council A here, and I might use one as an example. The Moreton Bay region have a skate park strategy, which I believe they wrote quite some time ago with I think one of the consultation groups, and Jesse Noonan from Rock and Slide had a lot of input. He's a great coach and skateboarder with a really good eye for the future, and he was part of their overall strategy. So they've got many parks across the region, and a big part of that strategy was to slowly knock down the old ones and replace them. So they have actually been doing that now. I believe they've done possibly 5 already, and they're all very unique. They've got a plan for the future with competition facilities. They've got new facilities in other places that are earmarked, like such as Bribey Island and other areas, and they've got a strategy where they've planned, they're executing, they're delivering, and everything's working great. So I guess the reality is we are talking about a lot of money and millions of dollars that is stuck that way for up to 20 years for the general public that we're going to see rolled out as all these skate parks across Australia are coming to life. With this Model B plucking random skate parks out of the air because there was a fall or a complaint with no overall strategy for that structure, we're going to see problems. We're going to see cities fall behind, regions fall behind. There's going to be uproar from the public. It's going to be really problematic. We think that these parks that are your community parks, they need to be fun and funky, and they can be creative and they can have community input, but you should have a plan to cater for all levels of skate parks. You should have your competition one, you should have your community parks, you should have your ones that are fun youth spaces. Without planning this together, it just makes an absolute mess of it. We've seen skate parks where they've extended old ones that are that out of date, then they have to maintain the other half of the skate park that's older yearly, and the new one doesn't match the old one. There's no plan on this. So this video really is we're trying to make a guide for, I guess, councils and state government to kind of look at holistically how they approach their skate parks and maybe try to improve some of this structure. Most of the issues that happen with skate parks happen at the design stage or the community consult stage. But if councils have strategies and they have the power and they have standards, then it doesn't matter who designs it or who builds it. If the council has a plan and whoever comes in goes and does this plan, then you're going to make sure that you've got the right facilities for community, they're going to be well utilized, and you're going to do them by priority. So I hope this has been helpful. I know it's not very long. It's a little bit vague, What I'm really trying to get at here is we see this stuff all the time, and by the time we talk to some cities and other people talk to other cities, it's like they've just fixed a skate park that really did not need to be fixed. It could have been knocked down and rebuilt, and it would have cost the same amount. And the ongoing maintenance of old parks can be very costly too. So we want to just see the best stuff get built for the communities. We want to see the sport grow, and I think the way the pathways work, Australia's great, we're a great sporting nation, and it's not hard for a kid from a regional town to do well in skateboarding and have their opportunities. That's the beautiful thing about the sport and about it in general. So if we've got good systems in place and facilities plans, we're not gonna, like if your city's got 4 skate parks, you know, and they're $1 million each, that's $4 million that you could completely spend wrong, and that decision is going to be wrong for 15 to 20 years before they look at any new skate park. So it's really important to make sure that you take a holistic approach, like Moreton Bay, and there are other cities that do the same, and have a good strategy that can work with your community. And these sort of strategies, there's different groups that run them, but they do, they look at the community, they look at stakeholders, they work within the council, they look at, you know, business in the area, deal with the governing bodies around how the sport goes, and really try to drive that overall plan. I think we've got the Olympics coming up, we've got a lot of talent, we've got a lot of young people. It's cost of living, these sports are very affordable. You know, you can get a cheap scooter and go down to a skate park quite easily, same with the skateboard. It's very low barrier to entry. So these facilities are really important to these communities, and they do build a really strong sense of community down there. So if you're building skate parks in your town, I would please ask that you, before you go plonk a random one in or decide to upgrade one, have a look at what you've got. Have a look at what you've got planned for the future. Have a look at what's on your boundaries, and properly assess it. Make sure you don't make the mistakes of putting random things in random places and then 20 years later doing the same thing and putting random things in random places. So if we can prevent that, it doesn't cost more to do things properly, but it's a big cost to do it wrong. So my advice would be, if you're doing any of this, these single skate parks, and you either plan to have another one in your area, or you do, or you've got some that are old, reach out to people, reach out to us, reach out to someone else. Look at a plan before we make mistakes and we're stuck with the wrong facilities leading into Brisbane and beyond. If there's anything else, we work a lot in this space. We deal with a lot of different cities. We deal with the state level and a lot of the sporting bodies too. So you're welcome to reach out to us. You'll see the email on the page, and we're more than happy to help anybody and talk to anybody about how you can be better at this. Thanks.